Hey guys, Happy New Year. Finally, the three of us are sitting down. We're going to recap 2022 and also look at the year ahead.
It's actually really strange to sit down like this and review the year, and it sort of came to realization what a long year it was when I actually worked on that video and we looked at everything, and I was like, shit, that was only 1 year.
I still remember when I was at home editing that year in review video and looking back at all the different things we've done, all the different people we've met, and just seeing it all in one night, seeing it all come together, looking back at the year as a whole. It really makes you realize while we're living the day to day, we don't really stop to reflect, and I feel like now is the perfect time. This little bit of a quiet, well, it's not really quiet for us, but this little bit of a area we have to actually reflect. Very exciting year coming up.
And apart from that, I think it was the fact that the three of us partnered up together. It's like we all kind of got our hours together and managed to make things work. Because usually if you're on your own and you're focusing on yourself, you have those 12 months. Well, we have 36 months. And that all together poured in with now this ever-growing team. And now we need to talk about that because that's its own conversation on its own. That's where you realize, shit, we worked on a lot of projects, and we need to be grateful at the fact that us three of us decided 2 years ago to sit down together and actually get on this project. Because if it was just Drew on his own, or Scott on his own, or myself on my own, it wouldn't be what it is today and what it's going to be in the future. So we need to be grateful for that, because not a lot of people have this kind of group of people who work, and essentially we live quite well together as well. We can maybe go into a bit more detail on that.
Somebody's stories about that, don't you?
That's actually one thing that maybe a lot of people don't realize, even when working with a team, even when it comes to decisions. Even if we're just the three of us, that's obviously three minds. We all have our own opinions as well, and obviously the synergy is very well. But this year was a big contrasting year from the three of us to now a team of 12 people. So that grew quite quick. A big learning curve for us in terms of obviously growing a team and managing a team, and obviously coaching and passing on our energy to them and creating that relationship, because that is the power when it comes to people. And that really contrasted as well, especially when we went abroad and then we were back to the three of us again. So it feels like the start of the brand, that energy starts from there and sort of moves on to the team as well.
So I still remember back when we first started Bulletproof, it was us three always at every single shoot we went to. When I started going to shoots alone, I'd have the athletes looking at me saying, where's Adam and Scott? Where's Adam and Scott? So it was such a thing back then, and now it's something which we forgot with all the chaos we have, with all of the meetings and everything we're doing here. It's impossible for the three of us to go to shoots together these days. But when we're abroad and it's just us three, and it's I'm running around doing video, there's Adam on the Zoom lens, Scott's on stories, the idea generation just exploding out of everywhere. So whilst I do feel that obviously having a team and everything is a very exciting part of the growth of the brand, I still love the kind of energy that the three of us have when we are in a room together, and I think that will always be a very unique kind of symphony of energy.
It's a double-edged sword, because when you're saying we're together, all the ideas are churning. At the same time, we cannot always be there, but that's where it comes to now, ourselves organizing our time better. Also on a personal level of this is kind of more of a leadership kind of thing, but I'll go into it a bit. It's the people who work with us have to be kind of a certain, we have to feel it. It's a vibe, it's our culture as Bulletproof. But then it's need to know when to kind of have the friend and not friend moment at the same time as being a leader of the kind of team. So that's always an interesting process that we still are learning today, and in a year's time, hopefully we'll be looking back and saying that, okay, this improved like this.
I do genuinely feel that is completely understandable, though we are still quite young, and I do feel we need to give ourselves some credit for that. It's a very exciting time, both in terms of growing the brand and growing the team, in the sense that this is a learning curve for us also. When it comes to content, idea generation, dealing with shoots, we're professional at that. But when it comes to obviously having that form of leadership and management, it's still a learning process for us, which is quite an exciting time also, because I do feel it's a very good asset for us to have, especially going forward.
It's important, and it's something that we're going to learn day by day, and it's something that you will learn by doing it wrong. That is basically how you learn. And I mean, this year I had to sort of recap that in terms of the growth of the team, the growth of the brand as well. Our message has been consistent. It is always going to be what we want to communicate, and I think that specifically 2023 is where we want to take this communication to a wider scale now, so not just locally, but also continue to spread the message and work with some really good people and brands overseas, and just take Bulletproof as far as we can go.
Drew, you're
We've been a bit interrupted over here, guys. Hey! So guys, this is the latest recruits to our team. Team mascot, called Limo.
So Drew, your favorite 2 projects that worked on in 2022?
Lots of projects, not gonna lie. But I'd say my favorite 2 would have to be Summer Sunset Fitness Festival and quite possibly the bike ride with the minister. While you're in it, while you're in the moment, there's so much going on. There's like all of the planning, all of the kind of logistics to make things happen. When you're looking at it from a distance, when we first conceived the idea, you're like, oh, how are we going to manage this? Like, there's no way we're going to get this done in time. But there's always that kind of moment. Like, I still remember very vividly going to check the location for the Summer Sunset Fitness Festival, us 3. Quite a hike, actually. We had done like around half an hour walk to reach the location.
Yeah, we went from the wrong way.
We went from the wrong way also, but I still remember being stood on the ridge, like looking around, thinking like, okay, like just picturing, okay, we're gonna have the boats there, we're gonna have the run like this, we're gonna have the yoga session here. And then like that, a lot of hours of work and planning and logistics and phone calls and everything in the middle, but then to the moment you're actually stood on the boat, you're looking around, the sun is setting, there are people working out, there's just such a vibe in the air. And it's like, for me, I'd say that would have to be one of my favorite projects.
Man's getting rowdy.
Okay, clearly our first audience member is not too engaged.
Not too engaged.
But it's like when you're over there in that moment, and like at a point I even joined in on the trail run, and it's like from the moment when it's an idea and it's a problem and you have a checklist of the million problems that need to get tackled before you can be in that moment. But when you get to that moment of being on the boat and you actually get to look back and reflect and enjoy the fact that this was just an idea between 3 people to take fitness to this location, get these people, and actually be there seeing it happen. For me, that is the kind of cherry on the cake of everything that we do.
It was a logistical nightmare though. Taking all the kayaks to Mistra, the bikes from the boat to St. Paul's Islands.
No, I mean it was a bit and a half. But with Drew's reasons, I have to agree with him. Like that is probably the one project that does the whole trip from idea conceptualization to execution to actually an experience for people. And obviously being an online-based brand, that just hits home.
We created a bit of a social fitness event where like in Malta at the moment we have a lot of great obstacle events, Tough Mothers, grids, all these stuff. They're amazing events, but there's no event where it feels like, listen, we're just gonna come, work out together in a very unique space because everyone trains in their own club or their own gym. So it's like kind of, you get that repetitiveness because we have been training for 7-8 years, so we know the feeling. When people just come here, take photos, feel good, meet new people that they've never met from different places, that's, I think, the most rewarding feeling of doing something like this, although it comes with a lot of logistical headaches and the whole campaign and all that. If it weren't that, we'd be doing it every week. So people ask us, why don't you take it? And why don't you? We'll hopefully be working on one. Maybe something on the lines of last year, maybe something different.
Maybe something bigger.
This is something, honestly, guys, it's the 5th of Jan and we do not know yet. So I'm being very transparent about it.
Malta is very known for our party lifestyle, but when it comes to fitness and a place to go out and actually have fun, but also, physically improve yourself, I think that was the unique aspect that a lot of people come back and want more. And I think just seeing that and shifting our culture from this party vibe, still creating that vibe, but on a better scale, that I think was why it resonated so with people. So who knows this year.
And also another underrated event that we cannot forget about was the beach pop-ups. It was very spontaneous, it was not planned at all, as usual. I mean, we didn't expect so many people at the beach, and I think that was something that for sure this year we're working on, and we tentatively have a very cool surprise for that. So I mean, you saw the show that was on the beach that time.
That was nuts, and we had announced it like 4 days before. And you see we had set up, I remember setting up all the equipment, and the athletes started coming, and before the athletes were there, I walked down the stairs and I see, like 50 to 100 people waiting already, and they just saw us there, and the pressure was on, we had to set up, all the athletes had to get changed, and 200 to 400 people coming for the event itself. So yeah, that was quite crazy to see, and that's a really iconic thing that Malta has that maybe we can push on a bit more next year. We're discussing how we can take that up a notch. It's crazy.
I actually happened to be abroad when it happened, so
Yeah, you weren't even there.
but from my end, it was one of the first times in the history of Bulletproof that I experienced an activity or an activation by the brand without actually being there. So I saw only what was on social media. It was quite a nice experience for me to see how it looks like from an outsider's perspective, and I think it's a very good thing for us to do also sometimes, to look at what we do not from the internal standpoint but also from the external. And looking at what we did through social media, I was like overwhelmed with actually what did go down. So
It's funny how we're on social media and our events encourage people to get off it, like the beach pop-ups, the Summer at Sunset Fitness Festival, and many other events that we do. So it's interesting to see that we're a social media brand, and not only just the events, it's also what we are trying to communicate about, improving yourself every single day, waking up early, getting shit done, and all this stuff is like, get off your phone, don't check our content. And when people check our content, okay, let's get off our phone. So it's like we are, without wanting to de-promoting ourselves, but I mean, it's all well and good, no?
But that's how it's meant to be, because I mean, social media is the way to communicate to as many people as possible, you know, and physical is good, but social is now, and how everything has morphed and changed, and obviously our whole strategy with content has changed, and our marketing approach, you know, that we really try to capture that 15 seconds of people to convey that message, you know, let them take it with them and try and apply it in their lifestyle. So we can't do it without socials as much as it is.
Yeah, as much as,
you know?
as it comes from a human personal development thing, TikTok hasn't really done as good. It's good that you can get that content that you need and leave, but I mean, at the end of the day, it fucks people's attention span, and at the end of the day, people are social beings, and if I lose attention from someone speaking, because I am so spoiled with how TikTok is always rewarding me with the new video, I cannot have that conversation with someone, because someone's on TikTok, I can't scroll past next video. So that in itself is something that we're working on as well for next year. The focusing on the mindset and mental well-being is something very important and ingrained as Bulletproof. It's not just about physically looking good, which also helps as well, don't get us wrong, but it also comes down from within, and within is so important, and something that we feel like if you're a teenager going through a tough time, and be it anyway, at any age, it's like, where can you go? Like, is there a lighthouse for kind of advice, and you feel, okay, if I'm not doing well today, I can check this platform out and actually get something good from it, and it takes me through my day. And that's something that this year we're going to be working on, and we'll go into more detail on this. Drew, what do you think about the shift in content that we're currently working on? Because we haven't really mentioned it, but I would like to kind of bring it up now. Maybe you've seen the content a bit quiet and only active on the work that we're doing overseas. How is the kind of content seeming to look now on Bulletproof going forward in the next year? I mean, we've been talking about it for the past 2 months now, and it's like we're almost towards the end of finally coming up with a proper, solid plan.
So what we have done, is you guys might have realized, is we've slowed down on a lot of the content, as Adam has said. We've mostly been posting about the stuff which we're actively working on, which is the international stuff. But what we've done over the past 2 months is really look back at the roots of Bulletproof, really look back as to why we started, to educate, to motivate, and to inspire. And we took the old content which we used to post back in the day, the how-tos, the exercise spotlights. But now that we've kind of learned the social media content, we've looked back at our pillars and why we started, and the goals through which we set out to make content. And over the past 2 months, we've really broken down a content index with new styles of content, new sub-pillars, let's call them. And as of this week, we've actually just finished going through them, which means you can really start to expect to see a new wave of content coming out in the future. This is something we're doing even with international athletes. So the past couple of activations we did with international athletes were very fitness, trendy, motivational style, but now we're going to really start even going into the educational route with these foreign athletes that we meet.
And I think it comes down to also like touching base. So like now, after a long year, and we're so focused on the now and the projects that are happening now, and obviously trying to plan a bit in advance. This time of year is really important. Something that I think we personally need to learn a bit more is how to sometimes get grounded again, you know, slow down and actually have a thinker, and that brings back, you know, the feeling of what we're all about and what we want to communicate. And no matter how social media changes, no matter any project, it always has to be our message that gets across, you know, and in the way it's communicated or the means or the content style is irrelevant, and that's always good to have, but it comes down to what you stand for by being grounded. And I think that even this year, when it comes to the mindset and sort of like the self-development aspect of us as human beings, I think that is what is really needed, what every single individual, you know, needs at this time with how social and sort of like society and life is moving in advance. So I think mindset and self-development is going to be a big thing on our plates, and I think it will also be for us personally, as Scott, as Andrew and as Adam, to become more uncomfortable with ourselves, in a sense, to improve ourselves, to become better guys, to become better people for ourselves, for our team, and obviously for society and our main goal as a whole. So I think we are going to push ourselves a little more, not just also in work, but also tapping into that mindset a bit more, and maybe putting ourselves in a bit of uncomfortable situations and challenges to understand what to communicate even better, because I feel that the creative skill set is there, and the more that we grow as people, that obviously reflects what we work on and what our content is, you know, because the content is us as well at the end of the day.
Actually, that thing that you mentioned about being present, that is actually something which we have been discussing recently between us, us as individuals getting involved on the page more.
We are so focused on working, you know, we are so focused on what we're doing that we don't even consider it work, and we work countless hours every single day, and sometimes you forget to take care and focus a bit on self-care. You know, obviously we're a big fan of saunas and ice baths and that aspect of recovery, but I think I personally need to focus on that more and then be a bit more selfish, to dedicate time to myself, to give more back, if that makes sense. And obviously starting a business and having a fitness startup is its own challenges in itself, and you have to be there, you have to provide for yourself, for your partners, for your team and for your vision, but you also have to remember that taking care of yourself is the most important thing, because this is the cycle that ends up giving back. So if you don't take, you don't give.
For example, if you're going through a tough time, it's sometimes very hard to give yourself your own time and be selfish, like you need this time, because the fact that now we're a bigger team, it's not just us three anymore, and it's also focusing on making sure that everyone has their tasks assigned. When I was going through a bit of a tough time, it's like I need to give myself that time to be able to be there as a team member. And because the thing is, being three leaders of the team, we also have to kind of understand that people come with problems, and it's like you have to be there for them. Who's going to be there for them? And as well, it's like you can't have a bad day, in the sense that if you're a boss, if you're a leader, you have to kind of show that, listen, this person, you know, I can trust, and I am going to focus my career with them as well. So there's that aspect of really pouring your energy into yourself to be able to kind of steer focus and attention with the team.
For people to feed off, you know, and that's the thing. We're responsible, like you're saying now, not just for the three of us, but for 12 people now. So that comes to a point where it's also really hard to really focus on what we want to work on, but also, you know, generating that revenue and monetizing, you know, the stuff that we do to be able to pay the bills, to pay the wages. So that is a hard balance, especially in a market like Malta. I mean, as much as we love it and as much as it's home, it is a small island, and fitness is not as advanced, very far off to other European countries and international countries. So yeah, it's a hard challenge for us, and we start to realize these things when we go abroad. And every time we go abroad, we have the same conversation, you know, that wow, it's a complete different realm, and we come back and all we're thinking about is how we can communicate this abroad. And that's why I think Milano, like London, was really special to me. I think Milano, just because it was the first time, was like a big hit in the face, like an eye-opener, you know.
And for me it was because I used to kind of encourage this, because I used to go a lot to Sweden and abroad, and being in those countries, because I actually used to live there for a bit, for 2-3 weeks. And when you live there compared to versus on a holiday, it teaches you like, oh, you know, this is kind of the quality of life. You start understanding quality of life. And I'm not saying the quality of life in Malta is not amazing, because it is. And if we had to go live anywhere else, it's very hard to choose anywhere else, because the quality of life with the sun in Malta in December, the sea, everything's close, the social life is great. Also has its limitations, like you're saying. That being said, we are servicing a market of 500,000 people. When we started Bulletproof, we're shooting content of athletes. Now, the most important word in that is athletes. And finding, and this really can relate a lot to it, a good communicator and someone who can speak really well on camera. At the same time, being an athlete, that is not something you find a lot. In more, obviously, because it's a mathematical game. It comes down to maths. If you have 500,000 people, you're going to find 15, 20 people. And people tell us, why do you use the same people? Why do you use the same 10 faces? It's not because we do not want to choose someone else, or it's not about preferences or anything. It's about who can deliver the message we want to communicate best in the project that we are working on at that time. And in London, we focused obviously more on direct open communication with the camera and shooting Zach, Sarah, and many other athletes. It's like, and Ross, they came so natural to speak on camera. And that was like, wow, these guys are also like athletes as well, and how can they speak so well? So that goes on to the opportunity for us to look at overseas whilst also keeping Malta as the HQ and as the hub for now, especially. So that
For
makes
now, I love that.
That makes it interesting in the sense that
We get
it really
so much.
opens a lot of doors. And in Malta, I think it's an issue from when we are young. And I can speak for myself that we are not really taught well on how to communicate, to understand the grammar. We learn how to speak and spell and all this stuff, but when it comes to communicating what we need to communicate and what needs to be communicated and people understanding and active listening, those two components, I feel, I'm not sure it's something maybe abroad they teach differently, but I feel like in Malta we do interrupt each other a lot. I want to speak on my behalf because I do interrupt a lot when I speak. I do suffer as well when it comes to speaking on camera. So I mean, it's all at this point reflecting on this. That makes it all so interesting. What else?
My face reaction.
I'm laughing at Drew, man. That's hilarious.
Anyways, we can change subject if you want.
One thing that I do feel when we do meet up with these international athletes is, okay, so I'm just gonna go back in time, back to the start of Bulletproof, when we started meeting up with like Yasmin, Matt, Anthony, and filming the videos with them. We instantly became friends with them. It's like the instant kind of chemistry link up together, you know, and we thought, you know, it's all well and good, it's Malta, but you start to travel and you start to do this with people who up until a couple of months ago I didn't even know existed, and you start to meet, man, you start to become friends with them. Zach Ainsley, great example. We literally had a call with the guy. The next day we were at his house, like meeting his friends, doing meditation with him, jumping into a river.
Your mind automatically makes them into a celebrity, and then when you see them in real life, there's kind of that feeling like, wow, shit, you're like legit speaking to them, and it's like you've been watching them for ages. And I know what point you're going on to, and yeah, you can.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's not just any celebrity. I feel it's more so with the athletes. It's like there seems to be this common and shared passion and understanding and drive towards seeing the world in a fitter way, wanting to help people to reach their goals, wanting to do what we can with what we have, the social media tools, to really push that kind of message across to other people.
Yeah, it's universal, yeah.
And that's what that's what I was trying to get at. It's like we have come into a bit of a special place in the market because we're a fitness content house. We do not have a product specifically to sell.
And I think there was something really funny, and I really felt what Drew was saying when we were at Zach's, because like you're saying, we had just finished shooting Ross Edgley. That was great, and we'll talk about that. And we're literally having a FaceTime call with Zach, and before you know it, we're in a cab to Newcastle, to Morpeth, and before you know it, we're at this guy's house and we're meeting his mom, and we had this gym session with him. We're eating his pre-planned meals,
which were actually for him.
Zach, nice.
Thank you,
that was
Zach.
some really good stuff, and you know, he was completely like a bro, and that was. Yeah. I felt like I was 16, 17
Going to that
again,
point, it's like
sleeping at his house, and you know,
it's like we can talk about
training with the guy.
The universe, because we actually got someone in the team to message hundreds and hundreds of athletes abroad, so in London based, in US based, in different countries, to collaborate with them. And the ones who really reached out really wanted to work with us, and it never felt forced. So when we met Sarah Holden, when we met Zach, when
Tom Coleman as well.
whoever we worked with, it felt so genuine. And at the end of the day, I feel like if you put your energy into something, do not get offended if someone doesn't want to reach out. It's not meant to be. And that comes to the point where there's a lot of things in life that sometimes you say, oh shit, you know, that was meant to be like that. Sometimes it's just like letting go and understanding, like, listen, You know, the athletes who worked with, the ones we collaborated, the ones we worked with were all insane. So then it comes down to people are meant to be in our lives. If it just, you know, it just happens.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
And just going back to the point, which one thing that really stood out to me was how we'd have two athletes who might not have ever met before. Like maybe, let's say, for example, Anthony and Daniel. They meet together at a bulletproof shoot, and all of a sudden we see them becoming friends. We see them with this unity between them. What we're realizing now is that with all of these international athletes, all of these people we're meeting abroad, we are building up a bit of a network, and this puts us, where I was saying, in a bit of a special opportunity that there's no idea that's too big and there's no idea that's too crazy. Just like how we did the beach pop-ups in Malta with the Maltese athletes. Who's to say that we can't create a concept even more crazy than that overseas? I feel like this is an important part for you guys to understand as to why we are doing these tours, why we are meeting these people. It's not only to broaden our horizons, not only to learn more, not only to meet these people, but also in terms to be able to create these experiences and opportunities for both them, you, us,
To connect, yeah.
for everyone to connect. The power of fitness.
As we just finished shooting with Russ Edgley, you know, ultra athlete, superhuman. Before you know it, we're on FaceTime with Zach Ainsley, and we're on a cab on the way up to the north, to Newcastle. We sleep, wake up, we meet Zach. We're having a gym session with Zach, you know, full on gym bro session. Before you know it, we're at his house. We're eating his pre-prepped meals, you know, his meat and his rice, and before you know it, you know, we're speaking to his mom, and we're going out to his town, having some food, and before you know it, we're doing meditation, swimming in lakes and walking up icy hills, and you know, it was crazy, and we're sleeping at Zach's house. So that was like crazy, and the aspect how Zach is also really close to Wim Hof, the Iceman. If you don't know who Wim Hof is, he's probably the pinnacle superhuman. He's the Iceman, and he actually sent him a WhatsApp photo of us, a post to him, and I remember Wim replying like, "Stay cold, XXX," and that was quite fucking surreal. That, you know, from here and being at home, we're at Zach Ainsley's house, we're swimming in you know 0 to 2 degrees rivers in Moorpit, and you know Wim Hof is speaking to Zach about this, and that was crazy. And that is something that we will be doing a lot more in 2023. There's no doubt about that. Wim, we would love to come and spend 24 hours with you. We will create some crazy content on that.
How are your feet, by the way?
No, like my feet killed me, absolutely killed me. But it was a really good experience, because that is what Bulletproof Pinnacle stands for, which is really getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it was such a fun experience. Like something so hard was so fun, because it's what we like to do. We were together, we were with Zach and his friends, and it was just coming out stronger. And that aspect of putting yourself in really uncomfortable situations is what the accomplishment comes from, you know, by improving yourself. And that's what I think today, nowadays, people have really forgotten, which is those primal instinct, you know, feelings of nature and its core elements. And that is something that we are, you know, biologically built for. This is ancestors of people. And today, you know, you go, you switch on the AC, switch on your central heating, and you're always comfortable. You wanna, you know, you always wanna regularize your temperature and never feel uncomfortable. And that is what kills you, and that is what this year we really want to focus on communicating and experiencing as well.
Yeah, like I just want to touch up on that. Like those moments while we're at Zach's house and we had just done the meditation, you kind of get full of emotion, but then we kind of put ourselves through that moment of discomfort, like you were saying. And for a moment over there, I had this kind of epiphany moment. I had just jumped into the freezing river. Yes, obviously that helped, but being stood there in the middle of, at the end of the day, in the middle of nowhere, in a town I didn't even know existed, with people we didn't know, and you're just there, surrounded by people who you didn't know, but there was a certain kind of brotherhood between all of us, a certain looking out for each other, a certain like we're literally there just in our underwear freezing because we just swam. Everyone's helping each other out, passing the towels around. There was just this certain unity between everyone over there, and it was this unity that I feel like not too many people get to experience. And just like Scott was saying, and just like Adam touched up on before, this is really something which we're going to be pushing a lot this year. So in the past, Bulletproof's been very physical, but now something which we really want to push on is this whole concept of seeking discomfort, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. Something that a lot of you guys have been asking us about, and something which we've been very quiet about recently, is Project Robin Hood. quite possibly one of my favorite things that we've worked on since the beginning of Bulletproof was Project Robin Hood. And yes, we have been quiet about it recently. We have been trying to work out the right model to go about these outdoor gyms, which we finally seem to have found. And very, very excited to say that within, I'd say, the first half of 2023, we'll be seeing not one, not two, but 3 outdoor gyms being set up. They are all confirmed. We have the plans in hand. The equipment has been ordered and is on the way.
No, we did not stop working on it. Far from it. We've been working on it tirelessly around the clock, believe me when I tell you that. And we just had to find the right way to make this happen, because with regards to tenders and funds, and it costs a lot to actually build an outdoor gym. And one example is obviously the Cycle and Win campaign we did with Browns. Hats off to them. We spoke to them about the idea. They loved it. They've backed us since day one, and they are actually making one of these 3 a reality. So that is sort of replicated with the rest. So yes, hopefully Malta's outdoor landscape in fitness will change this year, and we have been working around the clock about it.
So it's great to see companies like Browns and a couple of other companies who are investing now in the next 2-3 outdoor gyms, Project Robin Hood gyms, that are free for public use. That being said, we are willing to work on more. So if you're another brand who really wants to invest in an outdoor gym with us, please hit us up and we'll be willing to set up a meeting with you guys. Very, very formal. But anyways, that's Project Robin Hood for you. Project Robin Hood's campaign where we get from companies to really give to the people at the end of the day, be it companies, government, anything. Let's make things happen. Let's make the quality of life in Malta way better. And that comes also down to the conversation we're having about a week ago with the boys, that we're talking about being honest and transparent within our values. And that being said is when we were honest about Project Robin Hood, like the parks at the moment in Malta are not good, let's make them good. Yes, obviously you get backlash from government entities who are trying to invest in these things nonetheless. So we do give them kudos when they deserve to. So kudos to the government who were investing initially in these outdoor gyms. But we had to step in and say, listen, this is how you do a good outdoor gym. And this is where the people really got our feedback in, and they really took that in. And obviously we had the outreach. And like we said about the energy, it's when you want to get something good, it will come if you drive energy towards that. And that being said, we can go on to another Project Robin Hood style project that we worked on with the minister around Fallujah. Maybe Drew can go into detail a bit more about that.
So Adam opened the conversation by asking me 2 of my favorite projects we worked on this year. We didn't even get to the second one, and this was actually the second one for various reasons. Firstly, because it really shows the power of social media. It really shows what one campaign can do. One Dear Transport Minister video, bam, can lead into. I still remember the night before, I was on a call with Scott and Sean, and we were discussing how we're going to call out the transport minister. And I'm like, guys, I'm not sure if I want to do it, not sure how he's going to react, because we did get some negative backlash back in the day because of Project Robin Hood when we challenged politicians. But I'd like to just take this as a chance to say what a pleasant experience that was, in terms of how we came up with this idea. We said, just like how we created change through Project Robin Hood, let's create change in the best way we could with regards to the bike lane situation. This was at a time when there were a lot of accidents happening on the roads which involved cyclists, and then 2 weeks later I find myself attaching a GoPro to the transport minister's bike and miking him up, just to see how it goes from idea to conceptualization to actually happening, to now the transport minister announcing a 33 million investment in the bike lanes, the bike lane infrastructure through something that we did, was actually a really kind of eye-opener.
It goes to show that I don't think enough people are being active, and this really will hurt us one day in the future, because we have a beautiful country. We're so lucky here, and it's important that we are not lazy and we are active. Be it even if you don't have maybe a social media platform, but obviously you all have to start from somewhere. So if there's someone out there who is not happy with 1, 2, 3, 4, get a camera and talk about it, and make your friends talk about it, and hopefully provide some change that you really want to do. So we're not saying we're going to change the whole infrastructure of Malta, but these small steps, baby steps, will hopefully lead to people also getting inspired by our message as well. So okay, shit, these guys can do this. We're just like a normal person like you guys, so definitely can make it happen.
And it could have gone 2 ways, no? I mean, with Aaron, it could have come to a point where we got totally ignored, and that was that, and it might have seemed like a stunt, but he accepted, and he was there, and he was ready. He was half an hour before we came, he was ready to go. So
to him.
You have to give kudos to the guy, where he is in a way responsible. He was pressured in the sense because we had, you know, an outcry, and the message got across. So people knew that we called him out, and he had the responsibility to accept. But the way he handled it, and him trying to take a stand and do things differently than, you know, past ministers have done, I do appreciate him doing so. And hopefully in 2023, like him and Ivan, you know, the CEO of Infrastructure Motor have said, are investing 30-36 million in an infrastructure of cycling. So yeah, time will tell, and we will be there to give any input we can.
Yeah, and that being said, obviously, if there is anything that you guys feel needs to be kind of addressed, then we are always open to your suggestions. Feel free to message us, feel free to reach out. We are here at the end of the day. Bulletproof is a community-based platform, and we are here for the community. So whenever you guys have suggestions, have ideas for stuff like this you would like us to look into, tackle a deal, please do reach out. Guys, it was great catching up, but we do have a meeting about something very exciting.
10 minutes ago.
Literally, the meeting starts now.
The meeting starts now. So thank you for watching. This has been good.
Cheers, guys.
See you next time.
Sorry, Brian.